I grew up in a military family. My dad was a career Air Force man, and I wasn't raised in a godly home. There were times when I was a little boy, even from the time I was a child, I knew there was a God, and but we never went to church, And those, like I said, we would. I remember when my parents asked me to pray at the kitchen table over a meal one time. They asked me to say grace, so I bowed my head and I said grace. I just said grace, and everybody started laughing, and so that was pretty much all I knew of God, like I said, growing up. And then, I think by the time I hit about 12, 13, life didn't make sense to me. I couldn't believe that I was gonna live and die and, basically turn into jot to dot and, into thin air, and life didn't make sense. It was consuming me. And so I was seeking answers. I had friends who were Catholic, and I had friends who were Jewish friends, and we would go walking and they would say, well, I know I'm going to heaven because I'm Catholic. And then the other person would say, well, I know I'm going to heaven because I'm Jewish. And I got to be honest with you, in my heart, it was hard for me to hear that because we had no faith in our home. Around 1973, I don't even know how I ended up at a Baptist church down in Alexandria, Louisiana. I don't even know how I got there. And I just remember that man getting up and preaching, and like I said, and I remember committing to God right then and there, But when I got home, my mom and dad basically browbeat me, and that was the end of that. Years later, I was going to trade school in Phoenix, Arizona. And I met a guy named Joe Alvarado. He's 10 years older than me. And at break times, we were going to refrigeration school. We'd sit in the back of my brother's truck, and if he heard me using bad language or saying something, he would just gently check me on it. It was my first time I was on my own. I was 18 years old. I turned 19 out there, and one night he had invited me to go to church with him, and we went to a Foursquare Gospel out there, and that pastor's name was Silver Gaddis, and that man got up and he was preaching, and when he got done, I basically ran down that altar. You know what? And I was only out of school for a short time, 13 months. I was getting ready to go home, and Joe was telling me, Mike, you need to stay here. You need to stay here. And I was like, no, Joe, I need to go back and be with my family back in California. And I think about that a lot these days, that I should have stayed there. But God had a plan, even though I didn't know what it was at the time. So I ended up coming to California, and Joe would call me all the time. He'd go, Mike. He goes, are you still going to church? Are you walking with the Lord? I go, I was thinking about going to church here to Sunday, but, I never went. But, it's like, even though I had all that, even though I was away from God and running and drinking, God, every time I sobered up, He was there. Every time I sobered up, I couldn't drink enough beer to get God off my mind. Still have our struggles, but things are better in our home, and they're going to be better. And I believe the Lord for what He's going to do. You know what? I got to be honest with you. I got up today for the first time in a long time, spent one of the best times in prayer with the Lord I've had in a long time. I come here, and I knew what I was going to say. But you know what? I said, Lord, it's got to be from You. It can't be from me. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I got to say. I just want to thank the Lord for delivering me, and I'm grateful for everything. And then that's it. God bless all you guys.